Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with the What a Deck profile for the Super Quantum Assault deck, as brought to you by Patreon sponsor Ryan Smith. Just going to go through all the cards in here and I'll explain how this deck works. So we've got 3 Super Quantum Red Layer, 3 Overlay Booster, 3 Super Quantum Green Layer, 2 Star Drawing, 3 Super Quantum Blue Layer, 3 Pero Cerberus, 3 Super Quantum Fairy Alphin. For the spells, we've got 3 Instant Fusion, 3 Galaxy Cyclone, 3 Terraforming, 3 Super Quantum Mech Ship Magna Carrier. For traps, we've got 2 Super Quantum Mech Sword Magna Slayer, 3 Skill Prisoner, and 3 Breakthrough Skill. Extra deck, we have 1 Panzer Dragon, 1 Elder Entity Norden, 1 Fusionist, 1 Super Quantum Mech King Great Magnus, 1 Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger, 2 Super Quantum Mech Beast Magna Liger, 1 Wind-Up Arsenal Zenmaia, 1 number S39 Utopia the Lightning, 1 number 39 Utopia, 2 Super Quantum Mecha Beast Boros, 1 Downward Magician, and 2 Super Quantum Mech Beast Grand Pulse. The side deck I will go over in a minute. So this deck that I call an Assault deck, it's basically a beatdown deck mixed with an advantage deck. The point is to make these big monsters and use them to destroy your opponent's cards, swarm the field as it were with Ixie monsters. You can also make Great Magnus. He's sort of like the boss monster of this deck. But this isn't Great Magnus Turbo. You don't always make him, and you don't have to win. The main ones you rely on are the Magna Liger, the Boros, and the Grand Pulse. So to make them, we've got the Red Layer, the Green Layer, and the Blue Layer, who are level 5, 4, and 3 respectively, each one that matches the same color of the mech. To build them, you can either Ixie summon them the old-fashioned way, or you can use the field spell, Magna Carrier. This lets you discard a card to target a Super Quantum monster you control and summon the appropriate Ixie summon on top of it. So, if you get any 3 of these plus the field spell, you're good. Field spell is pretty important, which is why we run the 3 Terraforming. And then the rest of these cards are either things to discard, or things that help you Ixie summon more. So like Breakthrough Skill and Skill Prisoner, these are to protect your monsters, they negate monster effects, and they stop your monsters from being targeted by monster effects respectively. They can both be used either on the field or in the graveyard, so you can discard them with Magna Carrier to summon your monsters, and then you have additional protection for them. Galaxy Cyclone is our spell trap removal. Obviously it can destroy a face-down spell trap when you use it regularly, and then if you discard it while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to destroy a face-up spell trap. We've also got Pero Cerberus. This one is if you take damage from a battle or by an opponent's card effect while this is in the graveyard, you can banish it to target 1 card on the field and destroy it. I went with this guy both because it's more destruction, because again this is sort of like an advantage deck. You want to destroy all your opponent's resources and whittle them down. He's also level 3, so occasionally you can use him with Blue Layer. The rest of the cards are pretty much, like I said, just used to Ixie summon more efficiently. We've got Star Drawing, which is a level 4 monster, but if you Ixie summon, you can treat it as a level 5 monster, so he works both with Red Layer and Green Layer. It's also got this great effect that when you Ixie summon, you get to draw a card, so it's a little extra advantage. Especially with, if you don't know, Red Layer, if you control no monsters, you could special summon this. So if you start with Red Layer and Star Drawing, you can special summon this, normal summon that, and instantly go into your Magna Liger, which is the most high attack of your Ixie monsters. We've also got this Overlay Booster. This is if you control a monster with 2,000 or more attack, special summon this from your hand in defense position. So if you summon your Red Layer, that's a 2,000 attack point monster, you can then special summon this, and you still got your normal summon. So you can make Magna Liger and normal summon something else and use Magna Carrier. That's how you can get out 2 Ixies at once. This has an additional effect that you can banish it from the graveyard to target a face-up Ixie monster that has material, and it gains 500 for every material attached to it. So you can use this to easily just give your Magna Liger an extra 500 attack. That'll put it over 31, so you can get over those blue eyes. So this, in addition to helping you Ixie summon, can be discarded with the Magna Carrier just as well to give it extra attack. In the spells, the only one we have that isn't used from the graveyard is Instant Fusion. If you're unfamiliar with this, pay 1,000 life points, special summon 1 level 5 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck. So we've got the level 3, the level 4, and the level 5. And likewise in the extra deck, we have one of each. We have the Fusionist, the Elder Entity Norden, and the Panzer Dragon. So no matter what you get, if you get one of your layers and instant fusion, you have the material to make an Ixie monster with it. And obviously Norden has the additional utility of, if you just get instant fusion, you can get Norden and then summon something else from the graveyard with its effect. which is just another target for Magna Carrier, or you can just do a rank 4 Ixie, just with instant fusion without anything. Panzer Dragon has the additional effect that when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, target one card on the field and destroy it. So if you really need to, you can just instant fusion Panzer Dragon, and then when it gets destroyed, its effect will blow up a card on the field. Not the most useful. I've never used it like that before. It's always to Ixie summon with red layer. But if you really need to just blow up one card on the field, it's a good instant fusion can be turned into that. The only other cards on here I didn't mention, we've got Super Quantal Fairy Alphen. This has a couple effects. First, you can target one Super Quant monster you control, and all monsters you control become that monster's level. So if you have a Super Quantum on the field, and you get this on the field as well, you can turn this into that level, and then you have another Ixie summon. I rarely use that effect. It's its second effect that's the best. You can tribute this card, and then pick 3 Super Quants with different names from your deck. Your opponent picks one randomly. It's special summoned to your side of the field, and the other 2 are sent to the graveyard. So it's a bit of a pot shot what you're going to get, but it's fine because all 3 of these have effects both when they're summoned and when they're sent to the graveyard. When a red layer is summoned, you can target a Super Quant in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So if your opponent picks this one, you can grab either of these 2, add them back to your hand. If this is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Super Quantum in your graveyard and special summon it, but its effects are negated. So if this gets sent to the graveyard, whatever other one you get sent to the graveyard, you can also special summon it. It won't get its effect, but again, with Magna Carrier, you can just make it into an Ixie anyway. Green layer, if this is normal summoned or special summoned, you can special summon a Super Quant from your hand. Kind of useful, especially first turn. You can use it to get 2 Super Quants on the field. If it gets summoned with Fairy Alphen, sometimes you can't use that effect, but it's fine because it's still a rank 4, so it's the easiest to combine with. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can discard a Super Quant and draw a card. Which, again, not always useful. It depends if you have something in your hand or not. But it's just more ways to draw cards and more ways to proc these effects. Because, again, they all get effects when they're sent to the graveyard. Finally, we've got the blue layer. If this is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Super Quant from your deck to your hand. This is super useful because not only will this let you get any of your layers that you want, it'll also let you get the field spell and your Magna Sword. And if this is sent to the graveyard, you can target up to 3 Super Quants in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. Not particularly useful at the beginning of the duel. Later on, if you kind of go into a grind, this can be very useful because it can help you reset your deck. Because you have red layer that lets you summon and add stuff from your graveyard to your hand, you generally want to keep at least 1 copy of each monster in the graveyard, and you generally want to keep the copies of the extra deck monsters in the graveyard. But if you get to the point where you're going to end up with all 3 copies, or if you want Fairy Alphen or the Field Spell or the Magna Sword, shuffling them into the deck is always good. You just want to make sure you don't use it right away. Wait until you're about to have all 3 copies in the graveyard. So Magna Sword was the other one I didn't mention. This target a Super Quant Ixie monster, equip this card to it. It gains attack equal to its rank times 100, and if it attacks the defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. During the battle phase, you can send this equipped card to the graveyard. That monster can attack 3 times during each battle phase this turn. So this is sort of like your win harder card. This is sort of like if you need to OTK, if you need to do that extra bit of damage. Also, because it's a trap, sometimes if your opponent doesn't know you have it, if you haven't searched it, then you can make your opponent run into your monster and give them a lot of attack. It doesn't do so much with Gram Pulse, just puts them up to 21. But with Magna Liger, going up past 3,000, that really helps. And just being able to attack 3 times. If they got an open field with pretty much any of these, you're going to be doing like almost... This will definitely be game, and the rest of these will be close. You can also use this, of course, with your Super Quantal Mecha King Great Magnus. This is the boss monster of this deck. Like with my ABC Dragon deck, I don't try to summon this out immediately. This is more like a recovery if you don't have anything else, or if you get a really good hand. So to summon this, you need your Magna Carrier. This is, you can send this to the graveyard while you have a red, blue, and a green Ixie either in the graveyard or on the field. And then you use them all as materials to summon Great Magnus, along with whatever materials that are attached to them. Great Magnus gets effects based on how many materials are attached to it. 2 or more, during either player's main phase, you can shuffle 1 card into the deck that doesn't target. 4 or more, this card is unaffected by card effects except for Super Quantums. Super Quant cards, which is really, really good. It makes them nearly unstoppable, especially with 3,600 attack. And that except for Super Quantum cards is key, because that means you can give it Magna Slayer and give it 1,200 more attack, and let it attack 3 times and do piercing. So just massive. And then if you get 6 or more, your opponent can't add cards from their deck to their hand by card effects. So I usually don't get the 6. Normally I get 4, maybe even 3 sometimes, but it doesn't matter because that non-targeting removal and being 3600, like, that's enough to win most of the time, especially when you've got defenses like Skill Prisoner and Breakthrough Skill. Finally, just go over the side deck real quick. The 2 things that I would say for sure in the side deck, Call the Haunted can be really good if you've got an opponent who's making you discard a lot or it's turning into more of a grind, or monster effects aren't so much of a problem. Switch out one of these 2 for Call the Haunted. You'll get your monsters back. You can summon faster. Likewise, Jar of Avarice. Again, if monster effects or spell traps aren't worth as much, get 5 monsters in the graveyard. Just ignore Blue's effect. Send them back to the deck with this and then draw a card. It's just going to be extra draw power, extra consistency, making sure your deck doesn't deck out while you're doing all your things. You could add a 3rd Magna Slayer sword. I found it was good at 2 because you can search it with Blue Layer. But if you just want to go for that extra cheese, like maximum damage, go for that. Ixie Reborn is an interesting card. I had thought about it. You could target an Ixie monster in your graveyard, special summon it, attach this card as material. So it's just a way to get your monsters back out of the graveyard. Of course, to make Great Magnus, they can be in the graveyard, which is why I didn't end up running it. Emergency Teleport, along with Rizabel the Star Adjuster. This is a pretty decent combo. I've used it a few times already in other decks, which is why I wanted to switch it up a little bit. But what makes this particularly good is Emergency Teleport, summon a level 3 or lower Psychic monster from your hand or deck. And when this is special summoned, you can increase a monster's level by up to 3. So this is 3, and you can make it go into 4 or 5. So with Emergency Teleport and any of your Super Quantums, you can automatically make this and make this into whatever level that you need it to be. And even if you run out of Star Adjusters, you can use Emergency Teleport to summon Blue Layer as well, which lets you search. So it's a pretty decent card overall. You can run other Ixie monsters. I originally had Zen mains in here instead of Downerd, but I switched it out. But I mean, you can run whatever. You've got a toolbox of 3, 4s, and 5s. You can build anything, even if most of the time you're going to make these. And you don't have to play these at 2. I ran into enough banished stuff that I really wanted to play a backup version of each one. But really, with your ability to shuffle them back into the deck with Blue Layer or use them from the graveyard with Great Magnus, most of the time you're pretty safe with just 1 copy if you wanted to throw in more stuff. Finally, kind of a newer card, Holding Legs. This was another interesting thing. It's level 4, so of course you can make it with all your level 4 Ixies. When this is summoned, return all set spell trap cards on the field to the hand. Banish this card from the graveyard, target 1 spell trap your opponent controls. It cannot be activated until the end of your opponent's next turn. So this is just another card, like, you can discard it and use it from the graveyard, and it's level 4. Might be useful in certain instances, especially, again, if you're worried more about spell traps than you are monster effects. This could be a good switch out for that. It could be a good switch out for Pero Cerberus if they're running something like Magispectors that can't be targeted or destroyed. Actually, that would be really good against Magispectors. You could stop them from activating their spell traps. And then finally, another thing of star drawing. I bricked a couple times by getting too many of these, so I ran it at 2, but you could easily run it at 3 if you want. Everything else, I don't think I went over the extra deck yet, but the extra deck's pretty, like I said, you've got the 3 targets for instant fusion, your Great Magnus, 2 of each color, and then everything else, we've got like Gaia Dragon and Downerd Magician. You can summon this on top of a rank 5 or 6 Ixie monster you control. You can summon this on top of a rank 3. And the thing to remember with the Super Quantum Ixies is that if they don't have any material, they can't attack. So if you use all their material to use their effects, then you can summon this on top of Red Layer. You could summon this on top of Blue Layer. So you have like options. It's also worth noting, I guess I didn't really explain their effects. Red Layer, you can target a monster and destroy it. Green Layer, you can target a monster and change it to face down defense position. And blue, you can destroy a spell trap. All those effects you can use during your turn, unless you have the monster of the same color as Ixie material. Then you can use it during either player's turn, which is really what makes these like very useful. If you like instant fusion and you have both a Panzer and a Red Layer on this, you can blow up a card like during either player's turn, and that just helps you generate more advantage. Same with the Blue Layer. And then again, you run out of materials, well, you could just put Gaia Dragon on top of it or Downerd, and then when it gets sent to the graveyard, it's still in the graveyard for Great Magnus. So overall, pretty good deck, pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Next week we'll be looking at Ignites. Until then, good luck, have fun.